sheep have become heroes in China's desertification control and wealth creation efforts. This isn't Greek mythology, dear viewers, hold on tight. The extraordinary turnaround of this desert solar power plant will absolutely amaze you. What happens when solar panels unexpectedly transform a barren desert into a lush, green oasis? No high-tech modifications, no huge budgets, just a local shepherd's unintentional act not only saved millions of dollars and fed his flock, but also turned disaster into a win-win miracle. You'd never guess how sheep became solar power heroes.
So what happens when a massive, multi-billion-dollar green energy project runs into a problem nobody saw coming? Well, sometimes the best solution isn't more high-tech gadgetry, it's a fluffy, four-legged workforce.
I know, it sounds like the beginning of a bad joke, right? But this is a totally real story about unintended consequences and some seriously brilliant, out-of-the-box thinking. It's about how nature and high-tech engineering found a way to team up. So yeah, how did a state-of-the-art solar farm end up with an entire army of sheep?
Okay, so our story kicks off in the Tala Desert in Qinghai, China. And to really get just how incredible this whole thing is, you first have to understand what this place was actually like.
The name Tala literally means barren beach, and wow, did it live up to that name. This place was incredibly harsh, so windy and dusty that the locals had a saying, go up to Tala and a son won't even recognize his own father. I mean, the land was 99.5% desertified. Basically, nothing was supposed to grow there.
But here's the amazing twist. The very things that made this place a nightmare for, living things, were also its greatest gifts. That high altitude, the lack of clouds, it all meant this desert got blasted with over 3,000 hours of intense sunshine every year. For solar engineers, this barren wasteland was an absolute goldmine.
So they built it, a massive, state-of-the-art solar park. Millions of panels started soaking up that beautiful sunshine. But as they did, they accidentally kicked off a chain reaction that nobody, and I mean nobody, saw coming.
You'd think, right? In a place that was almost pure desert, seeing some green shoots of life would be a huge cause for celebration. Instead, that new life very quickly became a massive and seriously dangerous problem for the entire project. Here's how it all went down. First, all those solar panels created shade, sheltering the ground from that brutal sun and wind. Then, the water they used to clean the panels trickled down and started irrigating the soil. For the first time, grass began to sprout. And then it didn't just sprout, it exploded, growing taller than a person. It started blocking the sunlight from reaching the panels, which tanked their efficiency. And the worst part? In the dry season, all that dead grass turned into a giant tinderbox, threatening to burn the whole facility to the ground.
So you can imagine, the park managers were just tearing their hair out. Their big solution for clean energy had created a brand new ecological crisis. How on earth do you mow a solar farm that's the size of a city? It was a logistical nightmare, and it was costing them a fortune. They were getting desperate.
And the solution, when it finally came, wasn't some new machine or a fancy chemical. Nope, it was something way, way simpler.
Okay, this is my favorite part of the story, because the fix didn't come from some engineer in a lab coat. It came from a local shepherd, and it was a complete accident.
So the story goes like this. A local herdsman was hired to help with the mowing. He brought his flock of sheep with him, just to keep an eye on them while he worked. Well, at the end of the day, he looks over and sees that his sheep had cleared an entire patch of grass, and they did a way better, cleaner job than he did. And that's when the light bulb went off. Why are we paying people to do this when we could just let the sheep do it for free?
And that little aha moment wasn't just a one-off thing. It quickly exploded from one man's accidental discovery into official company policy, creating this massive success story for absolutely everyone involved.
The engineers totally embraced it. By 2018, they were actually redesigning new parts of the park specifically for their new woolly workforce. I'm not kidding. They started raising the panels higher so the sheep could just cruise right underneath, and they made the space between the rows wider, basically creating these perfect grassy highways for them to graze on. The park was now officially sheep-friendly.
And with that, this amazing partnership got an official name. These weren't just any old sheep anymore. They were now the photovoltaic sheep, the world's very first shepherds of a solar farm.
So let's just talk about the insane scale of this operation. The park now covers 609 square kilometers. To put that in perspective for you, that is nearly the size of Singapore. It is absolutely massive.
And from that gigantic space, the park now generates enough clean electricity to power 5 million homes every single year.
And the sheep? Well, that little flock of 600 is grown into a full-blown army of over 20,000 photovoltaic sheep, keeping the whole place safe and running smoothly, one bite at a time.
So what did that mean for the company's bottom line? How about a savings of 7.2 million yuan? That's over $1 million US every single year, just on mowing costs. Unbelievable.
But really, the benefits went so far beyond just the money. It created this perfect symbiotic loop. The local herders got free, top-quality grazing for their animals, which boosted their income. The sheep, feasting on all that great grass, became healthier and more valuable. The park got rid of its fire risk and boosted its efficiency. And maybe the most incredible part of all, the desert itself began to heal, transforming into a green pasture.
So, when you step back and look at the whole picture, what's the real lesson here? Because it's so much more than just a cute story about sheep on a solar farm.
This is really a story about turning a huge problem into an even bigger opportunity. It shows us that the best solution isn't always more tech or more complicated engineering. Sometimes it's about finding that elegant, simple, natural answer to a really complex challenge. It's about innovating in a way that helps technology, nature, and people all at the same time.
You know, the source material for this story put it just perfectly. The quote was, "This is a love letter written in the desert with light and sheep." And that's exactly what it is now. It's no longer just an engineering marvel. It's a story of rebirth. And it proves that with a little bit of creativity, we can find these amazing ways to work with our planet.